Welcome to the Gnostic Rebellion. I'm your host, Paul Ravelli. Today we are speaking with Tyrone Ellington, a member of our congregation and an autodidact steeped in history. And as a perfect example of, what we do with our congregation, he's following his inner genius. And that's what an autodidact does. In the description to this video, though, before we get started, you're going to find a donate link right below this. This link asks for a donation for this program and for our historic building and our historic congregation. We are the first fully owned and operating Gnostic church on the continents of the Americas, and of course, your donation is tax deductible. While you do that, we'll extend this blessing. May wisdom and divine providence increase the unique genius of our congregation and bring us to health, wealth, and increase of days. Okay, with that done, and thank you very much. Today, again, we are speaking with Tyrone Ellington, author of Journey Through the Origins of History. He's also a podcast producer and a guest in his own right. He is known or runs a Facebook group as Your Local Historian. He is, in his writings and in his productions, about a combination of science, religion, mythology, and conspiracy theories, delving into the roots and origins of each from an historic perspective. Well, Tyrone, welcome to the Gnostic Rebellion. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your local historian.
Well, of course, you said Tyrone Ellington. I'm author of Journey Through the Origins of History. That website is my rebirthoftheword.com is actually my website, and that's where everything started. I had a lot of information about a lot of different things, so eventually I decided to, write a book about it. And then I included some of the articles that I put on my website in my book because I felt like one day my website is not going to be there anymore. One day it's just going to be gone. Nobody's going to be able to pay for it, or it might be hacked or stolen or something might happen, right? But then, it's like, well, if I write a book, that might just last as long as the digital age may last because it's digitally too, right? So, it's just something that I basically try to leave my mark on this planet, what I've accomplished,
Well, that's a
before.
core thing that we talk about at the Gnostic Church. Making your mark on the world is important. Putting
Mhm.
yourself into history.
Yeah.
You know. Um, and of course, following your bliss, your inner genius.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know,
you say that a
but
lot.
but the book makes it real.
Mhm.
So I'm glad because for you to pick that up intuitively is I guess I should say a natural thing, but a great thing in itself to pick that up. So tell us about your book, A Journey Through the Origins of History.
Well, it's basically just my journey and what I've learned about certain topics, like the Big Bang Theory. Everybody will argue about the Big Bang Theory, but they don't know how that term came to be. They don't know who came up with that term and why that term came to be and what the actual meaning behind it. So I wanted to know all the ins and outs. I don't, because when people say Big Bang, I understand that in most people's understanding from what I encounter with other people, like doing like, social media and chats and, other discussions. It's just that the creation of the universe, but there's a specific way that it was created. So I wanted to know, who was the first person to talk about that. And then because I grew up in the Catholic Church, but I went to public schools, I was, I was learning about other people's religion and thoughts and ideas and cultures, because of people from different parts of the world. And I learned that there were different gods and different ways to worship a god and who is a god and I am a god and so on and so forth. It was so much different information out there. So I just wanted to know, okay, what was the first stories written about it then, And that's why I talk about the Sumerians a lot in my book, because a lot of people say academically, at least, that the Sumerians are considered the first, civilization because of their writing system. But then when you understand what type of writing system they had, that could mean for anything. You know what I mean?
Well, we
So
were gonna go, we were gonna, go into prehistory to begin to talk, and you just automatically took us all the way back to the beginning of time.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So
uh,
and that was the reason why I started my website was because I wanted to know the origins of these stories. I just didn't want to hear people say, well, these people are considered this, or this is why that is that. And I wanted to know what the who, what, when, why, and hows and stuff like that. I
well,
wanted to
why
know
did you
this.
want to know this?
Well, because it was just because of my background. My father's African American, my mom's German. My father was in the military. So that means that, I grew up on, watching what my father be a black man and watching my mom be a white woman. And then me going, watching television and not having seen or care about what the character might have looked like as far as skin color. I just wanted a good show when I watched television. So I had no dog in this fight, and that's why one of the first things that I actually, uh, oh shoot, that's my phone, huh? I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that, Paul. I forgot all about that. That's when I was setting up for the discussion. But anyway, it's funny because I had no dog in the fight on what I would see as far as my family or who was, what color was what. I wanted to know where the origins of certain things just came from, and it started with my background, what I
So it
grew
was
up in.
just an inner or compelling inner fascination that drove you forward.
Yeah,
Okay. I
yeah,
think that's where the genius is found in all of us. You responded to that inner fascination, and others would say, I don't have time for that. I've got more important things to do.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's so interesting is you said that perfectly. More important things to do. But some people, some of their important is watching a television, like Marvel or DC or some kind of scary movie. But if you watch these stories and these movies, it relates to everything from Gnosticism to any type of religion. You just gotta know what to look for.
We
And
have
it's
a
interesting to me.
program. I got to remember the name of the program now. Where we deal with all of the occult images that appear in pop culture.
Yeah.
And we got
That's
a
what I'm
whole
saying. Like
series of
music.
programs on that.
Yeah,
Uh,
music, entertainment in some way, even
yeah,
modeling in some cases.
yeah. So to go to the Big Bang, I think we go to a difficult place, but I would certainly be hoping to talk about the Sumerian culture that you mentioned, and
Mm.
as you intimated, it's the first civilization.
Yeah, and it's
So,
only because,
what of it? What makes it the first civilization? We
well,
heard of
see,
others.
it really just boils down to a writing system, some type of government, some kind of trade, um, some kind of belief of religion of some sort, understanding the skies. I mean, there's so many reasons why they are
Well, now
considered that.
the understanding of the skies, I believe, actually came from Babylon. Is that
That's right, and that's where it gets a lot confusing. Is that they say because the if the Babylonians knew about it, that must have mean that the Sumerians knew about it. Because to the Sumerians, they knew only five planets, what they could see with the naked eye.
right?
Mhm.
And well, you include the sun and the moon, and you get the sacred seven.
Yeah.
But as the Babylonians invented astrology, basically,
Well,
how did they
Babylonians
fit
and
in?
Chaldeans.
Huh?
It's between the Babylonians and the Chaldeans. There's always
Ah,
an
interesting.
argument.
So both the Babylonians and the Chaldeans, where was it just that it got picked up, started by one and picked up by another?
Well, they say they see it because of the types of maps that they had and how it had to do mostly with agriculture, like when they could pinpoint their certain agricultural needs. That's when because they had to watch the planets move a certain way, and they
So
had their
now,
own.
how do the Babylonians and the Chaldeans fit in with the Sumerians?
Now, that's very interesting because I actually have an 1873 Bible, actually from 1873. And one of the things that I've looked in there is they said that the Chaldeans, Babylonians, and Sumerians are one and the same people. It literally says that in that Bible. So I know a lot of people would disagree with that, but I have an 1873 Bible that says that. So that's what I say,
Okay,
okay,
so
that's a
now, in other words, you're taking that as a quote unquote gospel truth.
I'm taking that as okay, why did they say that?
Okay, okay, I like that. Um, and why did they say that?
That no, that's what I don't know yet.
We don't know yet. But
And that's
were
what
they
keeps
the
me
same
interested.
culture? Because I hear a lot of they were all kind of mixed together,
Yeah.
in a lot of the area that really is now Iran, right?
Yeah, it's that whole area, Iraq, Iran, Syria, some because some people consider it even the Turkish because the Hittites and so on and so forth, that land over there, they believe that they in that whole general area they can find these type of gods that they would call them, basically.
Okay. I'm interested, though, in the Sumerian Empire. Should we say then that, like the Akkadians, the Babylonians, Hittites, Assyrians, all that, should we say that they were just kind of subgroups within that empire?
I think they was just a mixture of people like that. I mean, because the Akkadians just meant further up north and the Sumerians were further down south. So it was just it's almost like there was, I mean, it's like how we have boundaries in different states today. But are we really any different people? Especially when you really look at
Okay,
the
so you
relation.
really see all of this as a mix, and and I would put a pin on the Chaldeans for a minute because really, as the Chaldeans, uh, I don't know whether it was their culture or their philosophy started to fail, Judaism comes out of that, or the Chaldean peoples actually kind of moved, and the Jews came to some power. But then we get Judaism in there. Would I be correct in that, or would I be wrong?
See, this is what is interesting. Okay, first, all about, the Sumerians, they have these gods called the Anunnaki. Um, there's a lot of controversy about them, and then there's a lot of academic truth out there. And then there's ways for you to figure out if that information is accurate or not because they provide the tablets online. So when it comes to the Chaldeans, the Babylonians, the Sumerians, and all this other stuff, it all goes back to a group of individuals looking at other some type of beings, individuals as their gods. And then the mixture of that comes from the Abrahamic faith. Abrahamic faith, Abraham started around 2000 BC, give or take. That's what I generally hear is about 2000 BC.
Okay.
Within that time frame, okay, of 2000 BC, that's between the Sumerians and the Akkadians. So Abraham started the monotheistic religion, which the capital G, now lowercase OD for God, like that their God, that, where Judaism comes from, and so on and so forth, even Christianity and so on and so forth. Any monotheistic religion falls on their Abrahamic faith for the most part in the Mesopotamian area.
Yeah, but the
And
Jews are not monotheistic as
that's
a
it,
society at this time.
and that's where it gets really interesting because when you read the Bible, there are definitely indicators out there that there's many gods out there, which mean that they wouldn't be a monotheistic. I would never say they are monotheistic from my perspective. Me personally, I believe they're henotheistic religion, henotheism, basically, where
Well, the Bible itself, the Old Testament details, uh, the Jews capture by the Philistines in Babylonia and Babylon, and in that capture, of course, oh, I always forget which patriarch rose to prominence there, um, and through prophecy, eventually got some Jews freed to go back to Jerusalem.
hmm
So we know. certainly there's a historical period where that's much closer than 2,000 years ago.
Yep.
Daniel, because this is the book of Daniel. It was Daniel who emerged. I couldn't think of his
Mm.
name. So by the time of the book of Daniel, when would you place that? Do you know when the book of Daniel is written?
I have heard different dates. I just try to stay in the roundabouts, but I haven't really paid attention to Daniel's dates. I pay attention just to Abraham because that's mostly where, the monotheistic religion started from. So that's where it
Well, the
gets
Jews
interesting.
attribute it to Abraham, and
Yeah.
there's a whole story where Abram becomes Abraham.
Hmm. Yeah.
And we could probably pull in all sorts of other archaeological references in that light. But I'm more interested in what, in the quality of uh, an empire,
Hmm.
such as was the Sumerians in Mesopotamia, and how that bleeds into another empire, as we continue from empire to empire. So you're telling us that the Sumerians, as the first empire, there was no other empire with that kind of structure going on with, language and record keeping, et cetera, et cetera.
See, and that's where it gets tricky. I go off of what academia says, right? And
Okay,
they
when you
say
say
because
academia, who are you talking about?
like Oxford University specifically,
Okay.
because they actually are the people who, translated a lot of the text. They are the ones who built the website ETCSL, the Electronic Text Cuneiform Digital Library, something like that. I know it's ETCSL. And then you have CDLI, Cuneiform Digital Library Initiative, and it's so they have the text out there for anybody that wants to translate it,
And
and
what texts are these you're talking about?
like the tablets, the actual tablets for the writing system for
Oh,
the
I see. I
Sumerians.
see. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and it's interesting because I actually took a class from Bar Ilan University. Dr. Nilly said that it was because of their pictographic script, but a pictographic script is basically a picture of some sort, right? It doesn't,
Right. It's a hieroglyph.
yeah, exactly. So that does, to me, I feel like there's a lot of contradiction just in the study of the Sumerians. There's a lot of contradiction in their dates. Some people say some days before, and some people say some days later. And it's interesting. You asked about was there a group of people like with the same type of structure? You had a group of people that were called the Ubadians that came before the Sumerians that
Uh-huh.
actually has a lot of artifacts and also some type of pottery and stuff like that. Their level of civilization was just different, you know, and nobody really gives you a clear saying of what that difference was. So, it's whatever you want
So
to
we,
call a
we don't know enough
civilization.
about this culture, is what I hear you saying, yet to determine whether there was a fully formed empire before Sumeria.
Yeah, there's no actual evidence that says that. I mean, we get stuff like, hearing about Göbekli Tepe that goes back further than the Sumerians. And then you have the mysterious Atlantis that Plato talks about. But my question about that is what made the Atlanteans so advanced to be considered a civilization? And I actually had three podcasts with three different people who actually is specifically in that field.
One answer I
Um,
know of is they say, Egyptian culture woke up overnight. How did that happen?
yeah,
And then the fill in is, well, the Atlanteans, there were a few of them that survived, and they brought what they could. Obviously, we have that one singular reference to Atlantis in Plato, so everything past that is speculation. And you can speculate it as you will. But
hmm
this Gobek Tepe, I think what's missing in all that evidence and what we don't have is the kind of record keeping and you know, all the inner experience that makes the historical record for an empire.
Hmm.
So after the Sumerian culture, now how does and all that fit in?
See, and that goes back to, I think you was talking about the book of Daniel, right? About the time
Yeah.
frame for that. A lot of people will say different dates for it. It usually follows under a Babylonian time frame because there's different dates for the Babylonian time frame. It's like one time is Babylonian, then it's something else, and then it becomes Babylonian again. But for the most part, uh, you know, uh, all this comes into like you can see the transition from when there's many gods that we were talking about going into one God. And that was even in that time frame when, Marduk, I'm sure you heard about who Marduk is, right?
Yep.
He becomes all 50 gods basically in some of the texts, and how you can see how it's most of a monotheistic type. And then you can see in Egypt also with, I believe, with Akhenaten, when he's trying to switch the Egyptian uh, culture or religion to a one monotheistic type of God. And
Some theories equate Akhenaten with Moses,
yeah,
say
yeah,
they
and
were
that's
really
that's
one
another
and the
one.
same.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard that and read that so many times too, and there's so many ways. It's so strange because when I look for evidence, I try to see who has the evidence to back up what they say. So if somebody says something was said here and they have a picture and they have, reference numbers and stuff like that and all this other stuff, then I can say, okay, this is legit. If somebody's just saying, hey, we really don't know a lot in their text, because they say that a lot in their books, that's how I can tell when somebody's just creating their own narrative. They forget that they say, well, we really don't know. When you tell me you really don't know, you're just telling me what you want me to believe, with what you believe, what you understand. But I might understand something different then, you know? So that's why it was important for me to understand everybody's point of view. That's why I come and talk to you plenty of times. I mean, we've known each other for almost, what, 4 years now.
At
I'll
least,
send
yeah.
you an email every now and then and ask you, hey, what do you think about this?
Okay, so let me approach this in a different way. I'll kind of turn the tables on you here. What have you gotten out of this study?
Well, now I understand who or what God is. And it's just, in reality, it's whatever makes somebody feel like they're in touch with a God. It's not my place to say what mine is for somebody else. I understand it differently because of my different readings and research. And for me to put it in words would be kind of hard because of the simple fact that I'm trying to explain it from my perspective to somebody who doesn't really understand what I went through to get there. Meaning that I did my research from all the religions around the world. Okay. I also have done a lot of research and followed a lot behind Gnosticism, basically with understanding that just like religion, there's different types of Gnostics, and you just have to be very careful on what you believe. Just like going to the right church, not every church is for you, right? So you have to go to the one that feels good to you. And that's just where you get to what makes you feel good as a person. So for me, what I got out of it the most was just knowledge about understanding why everybody believes what they believe.
So how do you since we are in Christendom, how do you view the Bible today with your understanding of history?
Um, and it's going to sound kind of strange. I believe the Bible is a place where you have to look for more knowledge, and it's not just within those pages that it's in, from that front to back.
You'd call it a
You
study guide?
Yeah, it's a study guide for that specific denomination or
Right.
religion, and there's different ones for different for others around the world.
Okay. The two main religions projected in the Western Bible, and really the three religions that are Abrahamic, um, how do you place them together in history?
Um, different. just like how my book is Journey Through the Origins of History, is the journey through life. Everybody has their own individual path in life and what leads them to different things. And that's why for most of us, it's hard for all of us to accept some things that we truly believe may be incorrect, right? Because it's just something that makes us feel good. And that's where um, for me, it's important to not just share the knowledge, but understand what I'm sharing. Because instead of arguing with people about what, you know, which is ever is right, I just say, hey, did you know that they believe the same thing or this, that, and the third?
So you're placing knowledge over belief.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Because obviously we teach all the time that to believe is a superstitious notion. Even if you happen to have the right belief, it's a superstitious notion if you're not practicing, um, shall we say, critical thinking,
Hmm.
applying critical thinking skills. And
Yeah, for me, I think a lot of people really don't understand what belief is, and it's different from everybody else. You can have how can I put it? You can have trust in something like yourself, for instance, like driving your car. You can say, okay, I trust myself. I'm not going to get into an accident. I don't need to wear a seatbelt. You trust yourself, and the belief is you have belief in yourself enough to be able to pay attention to avoid all accidents. Then something happens. I feel like for a lot of people, when it comes to our safety, uh, it's important. What helps us get that safety in this world? Well, one, it's not the belief that we believe in something, that we trusted enough to happen. We believe in something, hoping that it happens, and that's why we pray. Pray is almost like hope, just depending on how you use it in the context. So for me, it was just, you know, when it comes to belief, me personally, I believe, I trust, but two things can be right at the same time. I can always want that knowledge too. So that's for me to build my belief stronger. The more knowledge I have, the better I'm able to build my belief on a stronger note.
mhm. Okay, so now a curious outside question then, because it's something that I take a certain pride in. Uh, the our church itself, all our teaching, things that you've been exposed to by knowing me and knowing the church, um, never ever directed you to any specific or certain belief.
No, no. Matter of fact, we don't even really discuss that type of stuff except when whatever you share on your network and your social media, I'll comment on there and say, "Oh, this is pretty cool," and then I'll ask some questions. But that's about it. There's no believe in this and you have to believe in that.
We pride ourselves on that really because if we start giving out doctrine and dogma, we're just replacing one bad idea with another one that's just been sweetened up a little bit. you know um
Yeah.
you know uh to telling us we've got only a few minutes left, so we'll begin to wrap this up here. um And I'll say to you, geez, Tyrone, we really barely got started, but we got to some really good, important points. So I gotta thank you for coming here and helping us to make this program.
Oh yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I
Yeah, it
always
was
love having
fun.
discussions with you.
Yeah, and I think you really brought something for people to chew on. So that makes it good. So with that going, I will say good night to our congregational network. Thanks for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you on our next production. Take care and be well.